Thing number three, Gary, moving forward to AuthID, who we've talked about a little bit in the past. We were fortunate enough at DKI to host AuthID's management team. Ticker is AUID, and that's our thing number three. Tell us more about that, Gary.
That was kind of a cool thing for us, to be an
Yeah,
independent research
it's
firm.
very
And,
cool.
we had a CEO, Rhon Daguro, CFO, Ed Solito, Chief Technology Officer, Tom Szoke, and new board member who's a partner at Bain, Kunal Mehta. And they all joined us for this webinar, which we live streamed to X and to LinkedIn. And we did put the video up here on YouTube as well, and it's on the DKI blog. So, that was quite a thing to have. And it's pretty exciting for, an independent research firm to get the whole management team of a company. Rhon Daguro, the CEO, spoke a lot about the rising worry that people have regarding deep fakes. And he showcased in this great example how AuthID's technology identifies and rejects these kinds of, they're called insertion attacks.
Hmm.
And the really interesting thing about it is people are very focused on how good the deep fakes are getting. And
Right.
you really can't tell when from voice, and the video is getting to the point where it's getting difficult for somebody who's not, really schooled in this to figure it out. But what AuthID does is they look at the source and they say, hey, wait a minute, this is an insertion attack. You're not using, like the camera of the cell phone. You're not using the image isn't coming in the right way, or the video isn't coming in the right way. And they're really good at figuring that out. There is a huge amount of demand for this. Companies are getting hacked every week. And one of the things that they talked about is the regulatory environment. Like when you talk about, hey, why now? Why is this going to grow? And because companies have a regulatory requirement to do something to protect their accounts, to protect their back end, to protect their data, their customers, their customer accounts. And if the answer is, well, we did something and it got hacked, you can actually live with that answer. And in certain situations, depending on how it works, you may not be legally culpable. But if you do nothing and you get hacked,
Mhm.
that right there is willful negligence.
Right.
You know,
Gary,
gross
are,
negligence. Sorry, gross negligence, willful misconduct. That's the standard. So that's it's a bit of a problem.
what, Gary, just from your perspective personally, I mean, what was the big takeaway for you? Obviously, you've recommended or you've reviewed, put out AuthID. You've invested in the business. I mean, what was your key takeaway? What did you like the most? What's your biggest bullish case, or just whatever that takeaway might have been?
Yeah,
Top of the list for you.
let's talk about that for and we should give people a little disclosure here. I do own AuthID in my personal account, so if that makes you guys think I'm biased, you're entitled to that point of view. I will also point out neither I nor Deep Knowledge Investing was paid by anyone in any way. We were not paid by AuthID or anybody else. We hosted that webinar because we wanted people to see Rhon Daguro in person, and Ed and Tom and Kunal. I think they're personable people who present really well. I like that they're not defensive, that they're really straightforward. They never duck difficult questions. I just find them to be really honest and straightforward. I wanted people to see that. So I own the stock, but we were not paid to do this. I think there are three takeaways that are worth talking about. One is Rhon Daguro, the CEO, expressed confidence in the company's sales and bookings targets, and his guidance for bookings for next year were well above what I have in my model. And I've said in my report, which is available on the DKI website, if you click the research tab, the full report is available. It's not paywalled. You're welcome to read it. But I say in there that if things work out, I could see the stock going up, 10x to 15x from its current price, over the next 5 to 6 years. And that's based on the model that I have. And what Rhon is saying is that my numbers for next year are very, very conservative. So you can look at that and say, either my price target is too low or they'll get to, my price target sooner. Again, they still need to execute on this, but this was the CEO talking about what he sees in the pipeline. The second point I'd make is CFO Ed Solito talked about the fact that the company needs to raise money later this year. They need to do a secondary financing, and he expressed confidence in the company's ability to meet financing needs later this year. I think it's an important milestone for the company. We should expect to see that in the next 3-4 months. Based on my understanding and speaking with a lot of the shareholders of the company, I agree with Ed. I think the company is going to be able to get the financing they need, and that it should be enough to get them to self-financing. They may need to do another financing next year, but by the end of next year, we're talking about less than 18 months from now, the company should be self-financing. And so that, I think, is a big step. And then it's worth, if people have the patience and the interest, check out the video and check out Kunal, who, he's a partner at Bain, and he talked about potential strategic partners for the company and a strategic vision and the sales outlook. And, this is a guy who he's a big picture guy and has been around the venture capital and technology world for decades. And I thought he was really impressive talking about that stuff as well.
Great stuff, Gary. Yeah, thanks. I know you did a lot of work coordinating that and putting that together, and obviously the AuthID team as well for being a part of that. I was on there. And yeah, it was a great webinar, lots of good insights. So keep everybody in tune with developments with AuthID here moving forward. Thing number